Technically, I completed Unravel 2 in the very end of 2022. However, I had already made my completed games video for 2022, so I'm adding it here 1 year late. Unravel 2 is a game that's designed to play with another person. You can play it by yourself just fine, and if you wanna try optional challenges, they are very difficult even when playing by yourself. If there are 2 players, then you will both probably mess up twice as much because it often requires both moving at the same time. I can imagine there might have been some heated argument with boyfriends and girlfriends playing this game co-op. The game tells a story in its background by showing animations while you play the game, and it looks really good. In my opinion, graphics are amazing. They're like a piece of art. Puzzles don't repeat themselves too much, and overall I got to play this game with a friend, which definitely made completing this game worth the time. The main story is unfortunately only few hours long. Tactics Ogre Reborn was my game of the year. It's a simple tactics RPG, but the story and characters just clicked for me. The final boss is, or at least it was, for me truly a challenge. Even if the game has some quality of life improvements, it still possesses some of that old school difficulty. This game have had at least 3 different versions starting from Super Nintendo era. This latest variation doesn't allow you to grind, so it forces you to play this game as it should be played. The story is cruel and unforgiving with lots of juicy drama, and it changes according to your decisions. The best ending is difficult to achieve, and it also takes some luck with making the correct decisions. The best gear is found from optional areas, and when I was trying the final boss like dozen times before I managed to beat it, I really hoped I had gone to those additional dungeons to get a better gear. If you like tactics RPGs, then just buy this game. Fire Emblem Engage has constant loading screens, and as the game is Switch exclusive, you can't get around the problem. Tasks and talking to the characters is too repetitive, story is shallow and boring. Fire Emblem Three Houses was a much better game in my opinion. The best thing about this game was nice looking characters and graphics overall. If you're not a super fan of the series, I wouldn't recommend this one. God of War Ragnarok plays it safe. It does add enough stuff to the previous game to feel fresh enough. If you already played the previous game, the gameplay is already very familiar to you. The best thing was new characters and the story, and some of the bosses were really fun and felt like this is something I haven't seen yet. If you liked the first game, then you likely don't regret playing this one either. What I didn't like is that sometimes characters talk a bit too long and maybe a bit too much, but this was not a big deal. I don't regret the time spent playing this game. Burning Shore is a DLC to Horizon Zero Dawn, but it's almost like a small sequel. New island, new town, new story and all. It's a gorgeous game and plays so well on PlayStation 5. It adds a new weapon type and some stuff, so the gameplay doesn't feel exactly the same. Definitely the best DLC of the year, and if you liked the main game, you really don't wanna skip this one. Atelier Ryza 3 was my most highly expected game of the year, since Ryza 2 was my game of the year back in the day. Unfortunately, it didn't meet my high expectations. It is the same Ryza and the old gang. You will meet Fi, the legendary fairy once again. The fairy which Ryza had to emotionally depart at the end of Ryza 2. Ryza 3 certainly had the potential to be as good as Ryza 2, so what was wrong about it was that the wider world was a bit too empty. Maybe they tried to create some sense of exploration, but it often felt like useless running as long as you found the correct resource for a synthesis. I probably missed quite a bit of the appeal because I didn't find the correct ingredients early on, and if you can't keep on synthesizing better equipment all the time, then you will suddenly encounter a boss battle that will one-shot you. That's always so fun. However, if I had taken my time to carefully check all the places early on and do more side content, I would have probably had much better time playing the game. Considering the graphics, characters look as good as in the previous game, but environments don't feel as well designed. It's a good ending to the Ryza series, but I simply had higher expectations. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed is the final chapter for Xenoblade Chronicles series. The DLC, even though it's practically a decent sequel to the main game, improves every aspect of the main game. Every item you collect, almost everything you do in the game affects character progress. This way the game gives a great incentive to do everything, and for me it was necessary to do almost everything because some of the bosses, especially the last one, still was a challenge. The team you play consists of main characters of the previous Xeno games, and these characters sometimes say things that you can only fully get if you played the previous games. That was some really well executed nostalgia. One of the new characters, it also introduces a couple of new characters, and one of them was called Glimmer. Glimmer was my favorite, and I ended up controlling Glimmer the best part of the game. This was the perfect ending to the Xenoblade Chronicles saga. I really think that Final Fantasy XVI was the biggest failure of all mainline Final Fantasy games. I have already released a full review of this game on my channel, so just watch it if you'd like to see my full opinion, which really doesn't speak highly of this game. The Legend of Zelda just keeps on getting better after every new release. The mainline Zelda game is probably, the next mainline Zelda game is probably at least 5 years to the future, and it's gonna release on the successor of Nintendo Switch. But I hope they will keep on improving the building mechanics created for Tears of the Kingdom. The game itself doesn't hold your hand, and you can easily miss some of the important things in the early game. This is also a good thing because the game allows you to save Zelda however you choose to. You can immediately try your luck running into the depths and face Ganondorf, but for me, even if I had played about 100 hours, improving the character, the final boss was very difficult. The game is filled with small puzzles, which some might be a bit repetitive, but because they are puzzles, they are always slightly different. Nothing is too difficult, but it still sometimes takes a long time to solve, especially if you choose the wrong tactic. But even the most silly approach usually works when you just keep on improving it long enough. I hoped that Tears of the Kingdom would have gotten the Game of the Year award. It's definitely one of the top games of the year. Final Fantasy IX is 20 years old game, originally released on PlayStation 1, and I do remember completing this game back in the day, but I didn't remember much about the game, so I bought it on Switch and played it again. It's slightly similar to original Final Fantasy VII, meaning that the map is close to the same and the gameplay works in similar manner. These old games run really slow and random encounters can get daunting really fast. You're also required to grind at some points to make progress. These problems, if you want to call them problems, have been handled by adding quality of life features. You can speed up the game and then it runs like 10 times the speed, and grinding can be done fast enough. If you just wanna run through the story, there's also invisibility option, meaning that characters can't die and they do 999 damage every time. Also there's infinite money option. It's a classic RPG that has something that all modern RPGs are somehow missing. If you want to have a complete mainline Final Fantasy journey, then just do it. The quality of life options will make it a smooth journey. Red Dead Redemption is 10 plus years old game, and it shows in graphics, controls, overall simplicity of the gameplay, but it's fun game with a pretty good story and voice acting. The story happens after Red Dead Redemption 2, which I have also completed a few years ago. The game is not very difficult. There are a few annoying missions and they can take more than one reload, but overall it's just breezing through the story. If you like having lots of Wild Western gunplay, Wild Western surroundings, horseback riding, coated with farming stuff like herding cows and such, it's still a pretty good game. I have no idea why I chose the last two of my yearly completed games from the previous generations. I guess it was just time to experience these games. I didn't make any intro or outro for this video, so this was all the gaming I did this ongoing year of 2023. Let's just see what 2024 brings. Thank you for watching, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.